Hi, Sandra here from Create in Spain, and today I want to show you how I make the stamps similar to this one, where it's not a one-piece stamp like, for example, this. And that's just one piece of foam cut out. This is several pieces of foam cut out, and it can be done, but there are some steps that you need to go through which will make life a little easier. The first thing is to find yourself some acetate or a piece of card, something of that nature, that you can back your stamp onto. If you have a stamp like this, it doesn't need backing on anything, but if you've got several pieces that you're going to have to manipulate into position every time you want to stamp something, yes, it needs a backing. So I've got a piece of acetate here, and that's what I use. Now on one side of this, I suggest that you put a adhesive like this one. It's called Sticky Pen from Bostik, and basically you put a little bit of adhesive on one side of this and just leave it to dry, and it will make a slightly tacky surface, and that's what you're going to be able to use to mount your stamp on your mounting block or your stamping block, whatever you like to call it. So that's preparation that you can do in advance. Secondly, the foam that I use a very thin foam for more delicate stamps like this, because it cuts better than the thick stuff does for detail. If need be, you can cut out the same design twice and stick it together on another layer once it's been cut out. But if you're using a proper stamping block, you probably don't need to do that. And again, if you're going to be careful when you're inking up, you'll probably get away with it. But that's the sort of stuff that I use, and it's probably only about 1 millimeter thick. The next thing that you need to do in preparation is to find your design, use your software as normal to work out your design, and then to actually print off an actual sized picture of the design. So this is exactly the same size as my stamp that I've got there. Bear in mind that what you're going to be doing is actually making a stamp that will print exactly like that. What you see is going to be what you're going to get, because this is going to be the top of the stamp, not the bottom of it. So the next thing to do is to take a piece of paper and spray it with temporary adhesive. I use Tactor 650. It's an embroidery adhesive, and this container will last me for ages and ages and ages. It doesn't have a really strong smell, and as long as I've got the window open, I'm quite happy to spray it. And spray a piece of paper. Put your foam that you're going to use on that piece of paper, and then you mount that onto your mat and you do your cutting. Now, no matter what you do, the chances are that when you finish cutting, some of your pieces might move, or maybe it's not cut all the way through and you need to actually take pieces out physically. Actually, you have to weed them out of your piece of foam. Not a problem. In fact, I quite often prefer to weed it out of the foam, because it means that I'm in control of how it comes out and where I place it. The image that you printed, what you need to do is spray that with temporary adhesive, not permanent, temporary adhesive. And you take your pieces that you have, I can't find my actual stamp now, here we go, and you use that as a template, and you put your little pieces of foam in place on that. Once you have that done, you can spray that with a permanent adhesive, and for that I've used tartan spray. Any spray adhesive will do fine as long as it's a permanent one. So you have your picture with temporary adhesive, you have your foam, and on top of that you have permanent adhesive. You then take the piece of acetate that you cut, alright, which is now sticky on one side, and you take your stamping block. I've just got a piece of, I don't know, plastic of some description here, solid plastic stuff. And the sticky side of your acetate you place on your block just as you would if you're using a self-clinging stamp. So your image is now, oops, like so on your paper, and you take your acetate and you press down on there and you leave it for a minute or so until you're sure that it's actually stuck onto the plate, and then you turn it over and you peel off the paper and you're left with your stamp as it happens. There we go. And then you have your stamp made and you can use it as normal. As if you don't find it thick enough and you find your inking areas other than the actual stamp itself, then simply do another cutout and another layer of glue and put your next cutout on top of that. Okay, so that's how you do the more complicated stamp. I've got two very simple stamps here and I just wanted to show you something quickly. What I have here is what I class as a blank. Nothing on this at all. It's made of a thicker foam. This one's probably about 2 millimeters thick, and that's fine. But it's a blank. If you don't want something to be a blank, take an empty pen and you can draw lines on it, patterns, whatever it is that you need to do. And those will act as part of the stamp as well. And then you get a slightly more realistic stamp than you would with just a plain blank one. Okay, hope you found that interesting and useful. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.